Olá a todo mundo que está presente nessa manhã, aqui no Brasil pelo menos. Bem-vindo ao terceiro dia do segundo semana de Engenharia e Tecnologia do ramo estudantil e 3E UFJF. Nós apreciamos sua presença nessa manhã de hoje para que a gente possa atualizar as principais atualizações que estão acontecendo no mundo, tanto no lado técnico quanto no lado pessoal. Esse evento também faz parte das celebrações do I3E Day, que acontece ao redor do mundo inteiro, celebrando o impacto que o I3E promove na humanidade, em benefício dela. Nessa manhã no Brasil, o ramo estudantil I3E UFJF tem o prazer de receber Darrel Chong. Sua carreira profissional e seu voluntário no I3E é muito extenso. Inclusive, ele é honrado no nome do principal competição estudantil no mundo, por ser um dos idealizadores dele. Darrel, welcome and feel free.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And my name is Darrel Chong, and I'm calling and speaking with you from Singapore. And it's evening time for me. I think the time zone difference is about 12 hours. So good morning to you, and very nice to meet you. I'm sharing my screen right now. Hopefully you can see it. If you can't, you just let me know. And just a little bit of history. And I have been to Brazil once, and that was maybe about 15 years ago. I think it was 2004. Yeah, I was at Bahia. I was there attending a Region 9 student congress. At that time, I was the Region 10 student activities representative from Asia Pacific. And I have always fond memories about Brazil and also Latin America, of course, as a whole. I have quite a number of friends here in Singapore who are from Brazil, so really nice to meet all of you online. It's always a pleasure to be able to speak in the IEEE forum because I have spent quite a fair bit of time with the IEEE in my student days. And subsequently, when I was a recent graduate, I continued to volunteer and serve, and I have done so for many years. So currently, I work for a logistic company, a supply chain company, and so today's topic will be something closer to what I do for a living, and I hope that it would give you insights about the supply chain industry. I was a engineer, electrical and computing engineer by training. So I would say that when I was a student in engineering school, I don't have that much of exposure about what the logistic world is about. Yeah, so I hope that this session will give you a little bit of insights about what we do. But I think what would be useful for you would also be the technologies that's involved in this supply chain space, so that you can have appreciation, and maybe some of you might be keen to explore logistics as a career, in the longer term. So what comes to your mind when you think of supply chain or logistics? Maybe you think of boxes, maybe you think about warehouse, maybe you think about trucks on the road. Yeah, so all these are relevant, and what you think is essentially what you perhaps see a lot on your day-to-day life. When I tell my friend that I work for a logistic company, they will say that, oh, do you need to go to a warehouse? Not quite. I spend a lot of time doing planning and, in fact, business development work and product development work. And at one point in my life, I was doing account management. That means servicing some of the large accounts for my company. So the likes of like Nike, which Adidas, which I think some of the familiar brands that you come across. So it's an interesting field. So it's not always about the containers, not always about the trucks and the warehouse. Yeah, it's also about relationship building, and it's about business development. And sometimes when we think about logistics, we thought that it's something that happened only in the recent years, but not quite. I think if we look at the world 2,000 years ago or so, logistics was already happening along the ancient Silk Road, yeah, which connects, which as you know, connects between the far East China, and in the times of those world, the Middle Eastern and to the Western world. Yeah, so as you can see on the slide, there was a trading route between the East and the West. That was the old Silk Road. And in today's time, you'll come across the One Belt, One Road, which is the new Silk Road that China was trying to rebuild again. In those times, logistics happens by foot, a lot of walking, and a lot of dependency on camels carrying lightweight products over like 4,000 to 10,000 kilometer distances. Yeah. So as you can see on the chart here, Xi'an, which is part of China, and Andhra Pradesh, part of India, was supplying goods to the Western world. And at that time, what is being carried are the valuable goods, the lightweight valuable goods like silk, jade, spices, which the West do not have. Yeah, so at that time, I would think that China and India specializes in this production, so to speak, and the West would consume it. And likewise, in today's world, we see that supply chain has gone a lot more complex. So in the past, you will see that supply chain is maybe between Far East and Europe. But in today's context, you see that supply chain involves all continents across the world. And you can see raw materials coming from Africa, going into places like Southeast Asia for sub-assembly. And then they will go into another sub-assembly plant in China before it reaches its final product, and it will go and be sold to the consumption countries. Yeah, like in Europe and the US, and of course in Asia and Latin America as well. Yeah, so supply chain has gone global, and it's becoming a lot more complicated than in the 2,000 years ago, where expensive goods were carried by camels, and nowadays goods are carried by huge vessels and by aeroplanes. Yeah, but of course, COVID hasn't been that kind to all of us, and I hope that all of you are safe in where you are. So COVID definitely has disrupted many of our lives and affected a lot of our loved ones. It's affected trade as well. Yeah, but I hope that you are keeping well in your homes and at your cities. Global supply chain has also changed a lot in the last 50 years. And I don't know if you could tell where this is. If you could, maybe you can put it in the chat. Maybe I can't read Portuguese. For sure, I can't read Portuguese. But if you can recognize this location, feel free to type in the chat. And this is a part of the Panama Canal. In the past, ships coming from Asia would have to go all the way to the south of the southern tip of Latin America, go around Chile to go up north to the eastern coast of USA. But there were a lot of development that happens as part of global trade, globalization. So therefore, Panama Canal was a huge development that took place in the 19th century, where ships can actually travel through Panama, and instead of going all the way down to the south, they can go through in the middle here and go all the way to the eastern coast of the US. So the world has changed a lot, and of course, the landscape of the world has also transformed. And what you see before this picture is a mega structure construction, manufacturing, that engineering that took place, that allows that shortens the overall supply chain lead time. So in the past, if not for Panama Canal, something shipping from China and going into New York might take about 50 to 60 days, assuming that you go all ocean. But with Panama Canal, it really cut short that transit time to about 40 days or less. So you have 20 days savings. So because of this development, supply chain has becoming more a major part of our life, and I'll not show this, but I'll make my presentation slide available to the organizer, and if you are keen, feel free to access the link below and look at some of these videos. They are quite interesting. This video actually shows you actually how it works in Panama Canal. I'm not sure whether all of us are that familiar, but maybe I can show a part of it.
The process of transiting the Panama Canal is very similar for every vessel gates to reach a height of 26 meters above sea level.
So you can see that when the vessel comes through,
a control house operator closes the gates to the locks and then opens the valves that control the water flow. It takes 8 minutes to fill the chamber to elevate the ship, which is kept in the center of its transit by locomotives. This operation is almost exactly the same at the 3 sets of locks in the Panama Canal. It takes between 8 and 10 hours to transit the Panama Canal from ocean to...
Okay, I won't show the whole video, but you can see that the Panama Canal is a huge engineering project, allowing ships to come in, and they use hydraulic and bring the ship up and down to the right level and allows it to go over land. And that's how it's been designed. And I thought that it's, since I'm speaking with the audience in Latin America, I'd love to show you this video. And feel free to take a look at it at your own free time when you have the content with you.
To ocean.
Okay, and I'm not sure whether you will be familiar with this picture. Looking at it, it's basically a huge vessel blocking the Suez Canal. That happened in the early part of this year, which causes a huge disruption to supply chain. And if you see the map over here, you can see that for 2 days, many vessels were stuck because one ship was just horizontal and no other vessel can cross along the Suez Canal. So causing like delays of not just 2 days, but it actually has a ripple effect of maybe more than a week, affecting the vessel sailing. So supply chain has become very much a part of our life, especially of globalization and the manufacturing in different places, and we buy things from all over the world. So supply chain has become a huge part of the way we live, and of course, we don't always realize that. And so, because the ship was stuck, and dredging has to take place to allow the ship to be recovered. And just for your information, that how did the ship go horizontal was it was moving at a very slow speed, and there was a huge gust of wind that came from the west to the east and caused the ship to drift. And because it drifts so hard, it got stuck. So some were saying that this was because of climate change, causing this kind of disruption. So so these are things that affects our world today in ways that are not quite controllable to us. So what are some of the challenges that we face in the supply chain industry? I think the common things, and the first thing that ranks high is costs. Transportation cost remains to be very high, very expensive, and the cost to move goods is especially high in the developing country. There is a need for better supply chain visibility, item number 4, so that we can know what is delayed or what is on time. And maybe when you order something online, you want to track and see what time or when, which day is it going to arrive? Will it be late or not? So visibility is a huge part of supply chain, and it's still a big challenge. Driver shortage is highlighted as a problem because it's not it's a very tough job, and it's a job that requires a lot of energy, and increasingly not a lot of people want to be driving trucks, but trucks are a big part of how we move goods all around the world, especially for the first for port to warehouse or warehouse to port, for example. Okay, so there's a lot of challenges facing the supply chain industry, but I think what's interesting to note is that technology is playing a big part in how we can resolve some of these problems. And emerging technologies like Internet of Things, IoT, blockchain, AI, data analytics, robotics, cloud computing, autonomous vehicle, warehouse automation, and then elastic logistics are some of the emerging technologies that are reshaping the supply chain industry. So I'm sure many of you are very familiar with these technologies, and maybe I would, for the next part of the content, I will just show you a bit like how it works in different parts of the world. Okay, so so among the different emerging technologies, you can see that IoT is the most applicable emerging technology in the supply chain field, followed by AI, artificial intelligence, and robotics. Of course, robotics is something that is heavily applied in the warehouse environment, and last mile delivery, which later maybe I'll show you some videos on it. This is just a heat map of where the global startups are when in developing emerging technology for supply chain and logistics sector. So you could see that it's still very much the Silicon Valley in the US. You can see India coming out fairly strong, and UK as well. Although China, it doesn't show much on this startup heat map, but my personal view is that China is one of the leaders in technology deployment in their own way. This is just to give you a view of where these technologies are taking shape and leading the sector. Internet of Things, very wordy, but essentially, it's basically leveraging on sensors to be able to track where the goods are moving from A to B. This is another video, but the interesting one. I will not show it. It just tell you like how some of the companies are putting in sensors. Sensors that are very small into their containers. So that they can basically on their dashboard able to see like how the container is being moved. And basically the container will move from the factory to the port, and then at the port they will load it onto the vessel, and of course when the ship starts sailing, it will move, whether it's a short sea move or a long sea move, It will go from continent to continent, and with these trackers, you are able to tell on the map, like where your container are. Of course, not everything is that real time. Coming from the industry, I can tell you, there's still a lot of gaps. That there still need to be a lot of development for this tracker to really provide true locations of the containers. And honestly, not all cargo needs a tracker. Yeah, if it's a low value goods, you don't need an IoT solution. Yeah, but if it's a high value cargo, definitely you will need a tracker to give you more confidence in terms of where the cargo is moving. And these trackers don't just track locations, but they also track temperature, especially for perishable goods, for pharma products, and also it'll track humidity. It will also track like ambient. Yeah, if maybe the container door was opened accidentally, for example, it's able to tell that it's been opened, and so it has a record. So that's what the IoT solution will do. Yeah. Okay. I'll not show this video, but it'll be available to you if you like to watch it. It's basically, Roambee is a company, US company that develops IoT solutions, and their B devices are attached into trucks and also vehicles, yeah, to give the location monitoring.
What?
Okay, on last mile delivery, there's also a lot of technology being built around it. Last mile is perhaps the last mile. I'll define last mile as the point where the cargo is imported into a country and needs to be delivered inland. And as you know, the last mile, the inland part of things can be quite challenging. The roads might not be good, and it might be costly. So there's a lot of development around drones. Yeah, drones development to do the last mile dispatch. And this is especially important for humanitarian kind of work, because when it comes to humanitarian, the areas that you're trying to reach out to, the ones that are usually do not have the right infrastructure in place. Yeah, so drone technology is very important for the last mile delivery, for medicine, for food, yeah, and for urgent intervention. Okay. Again, I will not show this video, but this will be available to you. There's a German startup that creates delivery drones, and these delivery drones can actually carry 3 separate packages. So I think most of the time when we look at drones, they are good enough to carry just one package of a certain weight limit, and it is one drop and return. But in this case, the German has developed a delivery technology that is multiple, 3 drops. Yeah, so it actually do like a milk run using drones. Okay, this is JD.com or JD Logistics. They're a Chinese company that venture into drone delivery, and they are into and China is so huge. Yeah, and in China there are just 4 tier cities, right? 4 different tiers of city. So tier 1 cities are the leading cities which you are very familiar with, like Shanghai, like Shenzhen. Yeah, these are the tier 1 cities like Beijing. But then there's also the tier 4 cities. They are more rural in nature, like Nanxia and Tibet related areas. Yeah, so those delivery tend to be very dependent on drone to reach. Okay. And this is a example of a food cart restaurant on wheel, and this is completely driverless. So this is designed to be self-driving, and in the morning you will just go to the central kitchen, to pick up food, and then this vehicle will then go to the high density areas, and it would be there to allow people to self-service, to buy food, breakfast, and all that. And then when it runs out, you'll go back to central kitchen again to refill. So this is completely autonomous and driverless. Okay, and we talk about blockchain technology, and how blockchain technology is used in the supply chain sector is really for traceability of goods, and this is increasingly important, especially when you want to ensure the authenticity of the goods. Yeah, and it is helping to shape the lives of the communities that are in the developing countries. Yeah, when they put like blockchain scanners onto the pack, yeah, onto the products that they sell, and then they sell it overseas. Consumers are able to track all the way back to the origin of the goods and to authenticate that this is truly the product that's been sold there. Yeah, that's been made there. Yeah, so this is a very important part of technology. But of course, blockchain is not as mature as we want it now in the supply chain industry. It's still quite nascent, and I think there's a lot of development, yeah, that can be done in this area. Maybe I'll just show a small part of it.
Upon arrival at the stage of the process that the transparency and efficiency of blockchain technology can be fully realized for the end product. The vanilla stocks are separated according to their grade quality.
So at this, what you're seeing here is these are what the video called vanilla stocks, and this is farmed and then later brought to a place where they process. So it's not green anymore because it's been processed, and now the ladies here are basically packing it, right? So as they pack it, they are also, okay, let me show that.
The precious vanilla is individually labeled and scanned according to its grade and origin. Through Ambrosis, a new level of transparency and quality assurance.
So you can see here that when after they process and pack, they would apply like QR code onto the packaging, and then using the phone apps that they have, they are able to scan in, and from the scanning in, they are able to then assign the identity of the QR code to each packaging to confirm the authenticity of the cargo. Then of course, then it's being shipped out. So so this added traceability is very important. Yeah, so it's a technology that is being increasingly applied. Yeah, especially for goods that are in the past will not have been able to be traced. Okay. And AI, I'll skip through. I'm running short of time, but this is the last part on autonomous vehicle. So remember that we spoke about one of the challenge of logistics is shortage of drivers, and land transportation is especially important. And a way to overcome this need for more drivers and difficulties to find qualified drivers is through autonomous driving, autonomous vehicle, which Plus, which is a company that developed technologies to allow autonomous driving. Let me see if I could show you a part of this video so you can have a sense of like how basically
trucks transport most of the things we eat and use every day. It is the invisible engine that powers our economy, feeding us, bringing us medicines that keep us healthy, helping businesses grow, and fueling the innovations of tomorrow. The reality is that long-haul trucking is a challenging job. There are not enough truck drivers to keep pace with our needs, and companies are having a hard time retaining their drivers. It is time for a new paradigm. Introducing Plus.
We founded Plus with a vision to transform trucking through technology. Starting today, with supervised autonomous trucks and evolving into a future with driverless trucks. We believe trucking should be safer, more efficient, and more comfortable. We're excited to be on the path to achieve this goal.
We have a two-part strategy. Part one, which we are currently implementing, is to deploy our full-stack autonomous driving system, PlusDrive, globally. This summer, we are starting mass production of PlusDrive with the largest truck manufacturer in the world, FAW. PlusDrive powers FAW's automated trucks starting with their J7 trucks. We are also integrating PlusDrive with existing trucks here in the US. Part two of our strategy is to use the data we gather from our global PlusDrive fleet to develop the safest autonomous driving system that is 100% driverless.
I have always wanted to try one of these. Hi, I'm Tim. I'm known throughout the neighborhood as the guy with the weird car with all the sensors on it. Here's how PlusDrive works. Best-in-class LiDAR and radar sensors, combined with a state-of-the-art multi-view camera system, work together to create a long-range, 360-degree view with centimeter-level accuracy. Data from this sensor array streams into the main computer, where deep neural networks and modern algorithms work together to perceive the world, choose the optimal driving behavior, and turn it into steering, brake, and throttle controls for the truck. This powerful system allows PlusDrive to react many times faster than a human driver.
As an owner-operator for many years, controlling fuel cost and efficiency was always top of mind for me. Fuel savings offered by PlusDrive alone would have made me choose the system, not to mention how impressive the technology is.
These savings mean that
I will pause here, but essentially I think this video explained the importance of trucking as part of the supply chain for delivery of goods and the challenges it faced and how technology was able to solve some of the problems through autonomous driving and safety and cost reduction and things like that. So there's a lot of things that technology can do and engineers like you can do to make the supply chain sector more efficient. Yeah. So so with that, I've come to the end of my presentation. It's a very short 30 minutes, but I hope it gives you a glimpse into the logistic world and how technology can be used to support the movement of goods, to serve the consumers as well as people who are in need in the humanitarian sector as well. I must thank Carlos for inviting me through LinkedIn. Very kind of him, and also to Moima. Yeah, sorry if I pronounce your name wrongly, for translating for me. I hope I'm speaking slow enough for you to translate the words for the audience. And I would like to say focus and brasso. Yeah, and a very good day to you.
Thank you, Darrel. Thanks so much for your talk. Well, we have two questions for you. And first, at Mariana Antunes, our chef, what skills do you think necessary to begin separation career?
Thank you so much, Mariana, for asking that question. How I ended in the supply chain sector is I didn't plan it, to be honest. It happened by chance. And I think supply chain is an interesting field because you need to be, it gives you a global view of what's happening in the world. If you're in logistics, you will know like what's happening in China in terms of cargo flow. You know what's things happening in Latin America, in Brazil, and it gives you that global view of things. But yet, logistics requires you to be very hands-on with things and very detailed with stuff. So I think what is necessary, I think interest. I would say interest to see the world through how goods are being handled around the world. I think that's a great starting point to begin with. And you as an engineer, you come with a very analytical mind that will certainly help you to navigate the complexity and dealing with the very detailed things that you need to deal with in the sector. Yeah, but I would say, yeah, it's an interesting sector to be in.
Thank you, Darrel. And second question is from Preto Amorim. Chong, what's your best experience with TPE? Thank you.
Oh, thank you for the question. This is bringing back all the old and sweet memories that I had. I think the best part of my experience with IEEE are the people that I meet, like you, like Carlos. Yeah, we don't quite know each other, but we got connected because of IEEE, and we are so many miles away and separated by many time zones. I think the best experience is really meeting people like you. And by the way, I'm not young anymore. Okay, I'm 40 plus, and to be able to connect with like you, students or recent graduates, or yeah, and I think it really helps us to go beyond age, go beyond professional fields, go beyond language, and go beyond where we live. I think IEEE gives us that advantage to connect with one another.
Darrel, you were inspiration for all all members of the TPE Review Student Branch.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be able to be here, and yeah, give me a choice. I'll love to spend time with with the students and the recent graduates and professional like you.
Thank you, Darrel. Thank you for accepting our invitation for this talk, and thank you everyone to watch us. Last question for Vinicius Cusio. Is it possible that there an increase in Antimus vessels? One of the most critical moments of trip and docking and undocking will be possible to ships to be autonomously.
Great question. Thank you, Vinicius. And I think I think that is being explored today. I think the starting point is to look at autonomous ports and terminals, and having key cranes to be able to unload containers on their own. But the challenge today is that when the ship is at the dock, and the key crane is trying to pick up the containers, because the water is not stable, right? The vessel keep moving, so the autonomous key crane to pick up containers isn't at the level that it can do it so far. I think that is the challenge on the autonomous port side of things. But to your question on whether there could be autonomous vessel, I think to a certain extent it's kind of autopilot to some extent today. But definitely you still need people on board to make sure that the ship is sailing safely. Thank you for that question. It's a great question.
What for the question? How is engineering a recurrent aboard? It's make it close to organisms.
Thank you for that question. I think engineering definitely is a field that is still very much needed in different. But we see that I think engineering field has also transformed and evolved over time, with the need for be more technological and digital savvy. I think engineers needs to be becoming more diversified in our skill sets, and it's an ongoing learning requirement for engineers to succeed. And of course, in today's context, due to COVID, I think a lot of country have a little bit of closed door policy, for the lack of better words, in the sense that they need to look out for their own citizens first. And this is unfortunate. But I believe that as we go through and get past the COVID, situation, the world will continue to open up again and welcome talents from all over the world to be able to work in different countries and contribute in their own ways to the economies. So we look forward to that day when it happens freely again.
Thank you, Darrel. One more time, thanks so much for accepting the invitation. Thank you, everyone, to watching us. And strong hug, Darrel. And see you next, Darrel.
Thank
Goodbye.
you so much, Carlos, for inviting me. And a big hug to all of you from Singapore. Please take care. Enjoy the rest of the session. Yeah. Good job to the organizer. Thank you so much. You did great.
Thank you.
Good night. Or good morning. Bye-bye. See you soon.
Good night. See you soon.